Well, hi, Len. Thanks for joining me.
How you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good. Let's see what's some. I don't want to leave the meeting. Hold on a second. Okay.
Okay, you're good. You're in.
Device.
So,
Okay.
Len, when you first heard about the day one program, what did you think? What were your thoughts about joining up?
Well, since you said it was research, I was very keen to do it. The first time I did the program, it was just informal, and you were just getting started. You really didn't have anything mapped out as big a map anyway. I mean, I don't know what you must have worked very hard to prepare for it, but for the research part, it requires an IRB and all that other stuff. So there's a lot of stringent requirements, and I wanted to make sure that you got rewarded for your efforts. So I also wanted to be rewarded for my efforts, and I felt that research would help us all. It always does.
That's fair. Yeah, the original program you may have been speaking of that yes and exercise the improv, and then day one, the one we're talking about is the storytelling one, right? And yes, very detailed and structured. Did you said in your notes here, you said that you were interested because there was the idea of this hero's journey, and you said I already am a hero.
Right.
Yeah. So you didn't have any problem with declaring yourself a hero stepping into this.
Right. And I didn't define myself through Parkinson's. Parkinson's is what made me a hero. I was a hero many times over to myself and to my family and to friends and to others. And if you don't consider yourself a hero all your life, it's unfortunate. But some of us are fortunate and fortunate enough to share the responsibility of being heroes earlier on in life. And I know I faced a lot of things early on that required that I be Herculean in my efforts, and I was.
Right. And as you said, they seem to have paid off that in that confidence about who you are and what you're able to take on now, right?
Well, yeah, 20 years into Parkinson's, having been early onset, it hit me at 43 at the prime of my life. You know, I was in the middle of, I had my own business, my own law practice. I was, outstanding member of the community. I knew people drive down the street, and they'd see me in Baltimore, and they'd wave, Mr. Schwartz, how you doing? And all that, And it was a good feeling back then. When I got Parkinson's, I got totally disoriented. I mean, it just hit me like lightning, And that was even though it's heroic to fight Parkinson's, it's even that much more heroic to put up with the person that has Parkinson's, what you do, my wife does, and my children, and my grandchild now. Sometimes I don't have control of my body, and it's hard to. And then the emotional part of it is incredible as well. I didn't realize there was such a psychological element, but I've been educated. I've been schooled in that now. Dr. Pontone out here at Hopkins, he's cutting edge on psychiatric issues, and he's trying all sorts of things and doing studies of how to help depression and dementia and whatever is affecting Parkinson's cognitively.
Excellent, Len. I think you're right. It's largely underreported, the cognitive and emotional parts of Parkinson's, and I appreciate you pointing out the heroism is not just for the person with Parkinson's. It is also for those who are the care partners, those who are the wellness and medical providers. This is a heroic effort to face this external thing, or internal in your case, that nobody has a direct answer for, right? So we're all kind of pushing around. So thank you for recognizing that. When we look at, how to face this, sometimes, emotionally, that means telling a story. Have you been able to tell your story at various times of having Parkinson's? And did this program help you tell your story perhaps even better?
Well, I think this program helped me to share more.
Mm.
I think that I had been doing an individual effort, working with the associations, the various associations. They have their outreach programs, and I won't name names, but I went to Washington a few times, and I went to the Capitol Hill and did those walks and all. And I spoke in front of audiences of 200-300 people. Amazingly to me, it was amazing to me. My public advocacy skills really were very fine-tuned. Now my speech is a little bit more difficult, at least for me, to feel comfortable with that kind of a presentation. But I was meeting with the with the doctors. The association flew me up to New York to meet with the doctors and meet with the researchers, the various researchers, and to give them some guidelines and some hope for some put a face on Parkinson's, even more than Michael J. Fox, because Michael J. Fox is a celebrity. I mean, I was just a average Joe Blow, and I was able to articulate from my heart, what it was that I thought my fellow Parkinson's people were going through, the empathy part of it.
Right.
And, we had guys there from IBM who'd be asking, they'd come down from Woodstock, New York, and they'd come down and they'd ask, well, we're going to put devices on you and you're going to run around the track and you're going to this and that. And, I said, well, I don't want anything hanging from my body when I'm exercising, I can't push buttons that you require to get information. You need to have something that's seamless. It's this kind of advice to them, something that gives you your information but doesn't interfere with my life. It's too important to me to get out there without gadgets.
Sure.
You don't need gadgets and gimmicks to deal with this. You need real science.
So yeah, let me ask you, the real science, and I understand that gadgets and gimmicks can be problematic, and trials doing all sorts of things.
Yeah.
What is the value of sharing your story? You mentioned going, in front of various people in Washington. Do you feel like the Parkinson's community is not represented well enough? Are the stories not being told accurately or with enough volume? Why is that important?
Well, there's not enough participants, first of all. Mm-hmm. And I think your program goes a long way in recruiting and possibly bringing more people under the umbrella of presentation, because it takes us outside of ourselves, gives us more confidence. In fact, my physical education guy who I do word class with said that my confidence was up gloriously from you, and he felt that I had been able to express myself a lot better now since I've been through your program. But he was being articulating the persona. Mm-hmm. I always had the substance, but I didn't always have the persona. It gives me a persona, a person, a face, and it makes it better.
Right.
It's hard to say that this is a good looking face, but it's
a great looking face, Len.
It's all I got. So anyway.
So I think what I heard, and I think it's important just to kind of underline, and we'll move forward after this, but just to say that, the people who don't have Parkinson's, whether they're wellness medical providers or, practitioners trying to make devices, or even fellow care partners, caregivers, that community, they don't necessarily know the individual story of what it's like to have emotionally, spiritually, all those things, what it's like to have Parkinson's. And if I'm hearing you right, those are parts of the things that need to get out there so that the treatment can be done accurately, adequately, and, quality of life can improve. Does that sound right?
It's part of the puzzle. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I think you summarized pretty well how I feel about the attitude of the external environment. You're never going to be able to deal with the internal environment that I have to deal with.
Right. Right.
But you get a taste for what the external environment is like and how I feel in relation to other people. That is very important that be taken into consideration. It's not just learning to play the guitar, it's learning how to express it to somebody else, guitar playing.
Right. Yeah. There's a feeling behind the notes. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that expression. Excellent. We had a number of guest speakers, and one of the ones you responded really strongly to was Derek Flores from Zappos Adaptive. Tell me about your experience and why that was so meaningful to you.
Well, he reached out to me, and said, what size are you? We're going to give you some clothing. What do you like to wear? What do he asked real pointed questions, and I wasn't sure where he's coming from, but I was thinking, what value is this to anybody? What value is my time in talking to him? Sure, you get a free pair of sneakers and a free t-shirt or whatever, but that's not what it's all about. The question, I go buy those things, but the question was, he really cared. He really cared about what I was interested in, what I needed to have. And it showed when we did the presentation. I didn't know I was doing the presentation. It caught me by surprise that we were doing it that day. But I willingly went and got changed quickly, not in front of the camera, partially in front of the camera. And I didn't use sound effects because the tearaway shirt was really cool. But I demonstrated that to my son, saying privately. They said, "You want to get a kick out of something?" They said, "Dad, hold on."
So let's talk about that really quickly, because that's something for those who don't know, they might not understand. You had a shirt that had magnets underneath the buttons, correct?
Yeah, but it also had Velcro.
Oh, both. Okay.
So it was more of the tactile sound. It had a sound to it.
And why is that important for a person with Parkinson's? What's the challenge there that's being met by that type of adaptation?
Well, the adaptation is that you can't button up your shirt in time. Either you're too slow or you can't do it at all.
Right.
So you could wear a pullover shirt, one with fake buttons and all that, or you could wear but even pulling a shirt over, you'd have to add you'd have to add something to smooth things out, something silky, or something to take the friction away. But this was quite remarkable. You just had to turn to the Velcro, just go down the front. In fact, I wore it to the wedding. My son got married last week.
Oh, that's great.
And last Sunday, and that's what got involved in our breakdown in communication. But we had a family affair in a couple of days, and one of the days I wore the outfit that he sent me from Zappos. And it was quite remarkable. I got dressed in 5 minutes. I said, hold on here. Compared to the 20 minutes to an hour that it took to put on the suit for the wedding, which I could have used an adaptable suit for the wedding, but I didn't talk to him about that. I should, maybe next time.
Yeah, a lot of people on the outside who don't experience that type of thing might not understand why that's a game changer and how that so how did that make you feel to be able to
it made me feel really independent.
There you go.
Yeah, I could show up just like you, like any other guy, and I could just throw my clothes on and feel comfortable about them. These are what I like to wear. This is something I put on. That I chose it, and my wife could see it for the first time. Not something that she had to buy me special, or that she had to put on me. There's something to being dressed by by valet or whatever, but I didn't have a valet. You know, I wasn't the king. It was more personal. My son and I, you know, I think it's useful to have adaptable clothing all the time. And then you leave it to yourself how much interaction you want to have with another person as far as your body goes. Sure, putting on a bow tie, I like my wife or my son to help me. It gives us some personal time talking to each other face to face, especially in these pandemic times. It gives you more closeness to people. Yeah. But I think that the general gist of it is the personal contact you get is regulated better by having clothing that you can control. You know whether it works or not ahead of time.
Yep. So a couple of things I heard your independence and your autonomy. Those things sound like they're important to you. And again, probably lesser studied, maybe lesser heard. However, that's exactly what I think Derek was doing when he was asking you those questions. He wanted to know because, you know, sometimes the makers of the clothes, they don't know either. And so they need more people with Parkinson's to raise their voice and say, yeah, these are the challenges. This is why it matters to me. And then tell the story of, like you just did, how it felt to be freed of that prior burden.
The pants had a zip up similar to what you would get with camping equipment. If you were to take off the, you know, you get the special pants where you take off the lower end of the pants and you make shorts out of them. I won't name any companies, but I think like REI or whatever, you know, they make those kind of special pants. They don't make them for us. It's not adaptable for us, but we can use it. The same thing. But these pants that they gave me were Hilfiger, and I think they had they had the weights and the magnets that you could just separate out and pull it. It's much easier to pull over your leg than otherwise.
Yep.
I found that very helpful.
That's wonderful.
You can't put it on to take it off.
Now,
the Velcro waist was good too.
Yeah.
The zipper was very good.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, if I may, there was one other speaker I wanted to ask you about, because you also mentioned a pretty strong effect. We had Jillian Rutledge, who presented mindfulness and took us through that meditation. You wrote, yes. I got so far out of myself, it took me 2 days to match her effectiveness. Talk to me about that experience and why that was important to you.
I've been working on mindfulness. I think that it's a big area. I think it's a big area for everybody. Deal with anxiety and deal with stress. If you stay within yourself too long and you worry about every wall that you're going to fall into, or every piece of furniture necessary to get you from here to there, you know, when you're doing your surfing, group surfing, you could end up crazy. You know, this way, with mindfulness, you can sort of picture yourself already there. You're already being there. Right. It's like the movie Being There. Yeah. It's a very simple concept, but you don't have to get up to go to the television. You turn off the television, first of all, and then you just put on some music. It helps you get some tempo going. You can move around a little bit easier. People, you can situate people in space, but you're not going to be able to control them. So that mindfulness gets you into the body of safety, where you feel that there's not everything out there so dangerous. You're not as paranoid. You know, not in public spaces. If you're in a public space, Parkinson's really is a terror. I don't care if it's an airport, train station, metro station, even just a sidewalk. to a building to get from one place to another. If you have the fear that something's going to obstruct your vision or your feet or something between here and there, and you're not mindful of the situation, then you're not going to be able to deal with it. You're going to be dependent on wheelchairs for the rest of your life and gurneys. And I don't want to be subject to that all the time. Sure, there's a time and place for use of those tools, those devices, when we're subject to the real world. But most of the time, you don't need them.
Yeah.
And Parkinson's people have to educate themselves backwards. We have to re-engineer ourselves back from the person that we've become, the heroic person we've become. We have to become more simplistic. And I've watched my grandson grow, 7 months now. And every effort he makes to walk and to turn his body and to get up and to sit down and to turn to the left and turn to the right is identical to the efforts I make to do it myself. And so he could teach me and I could teach him.
Yeah.
He can support me to some extent and I can support him to some extent.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And we're loving it. He's smiling. He's only smiling back and forth. That's all he's doing. He's not crying about it. I'm not crying about it anymore. You know, we're good. We're golden. So that's just one example of.
I think it's a great one though, because you're talking about something research-wise they call generativity, which is, you know, where you're at and what you want to give to those following you. And
Right.
I've seen you since the birth of your grandson in a couple different ways, just really light up, and that you're developing this relationship with him and seeing the correlation between the stages of life you're at and the way you can support each other. You're offering him, I think, the kind of respect that not a lot of people give to a 7-month-old. You're saying, look at what you're doing, and you're being inspired by that. You're not saying he's helpless. You're saying, look at him help himself.
That's right, exactly. Every movement that a baby makes, and now he's almost a person. I mean, he's totally a person.
Yeah,
He's got personality in it. So his efforts are even more personal and more admired than they were even originally.
You wrote this in your Return with the Elixir, which is the final step of the hero's journey. You wrote, every birth and creation is a miracle or miraculous in and of itself, having little or nothing to do with superpower or just one individual. It is non-quantifiable and nonplussed. Life is for the living. Living is being, and being is whatever you are given. You take, you make, and enjoy. I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, I do too. I didn't realize I wrote that.
You did. And this is why I enjoy reflecting words back to you all, because this is the power of writing. That sometimes these things exist up here, the internal, and we can say them even, and conversations maybe get heard, they get through all sorts of filters, but writing is a rather pure medium. When it's on the page, it's on the page. You can.
It's all me.
What's that?
It's all me. It's
yeah.
all me.
You can surprise yourself by what appears on the page sometimes too, right?
Well, I don't reread. I don't necessarily go back and reread what I write.
Sure.
I've never done that.
Okay.
I mean, I do it from time to time with poetry and all, and I'll codify what I've written. And the law, of course, I've rewritten many briefs and had many. When the day when the computer was first come out, I had many days when I wiped out my hard drive and screwed up the computer. I had to start over in a new document, you know. But that even happened with the story of my life, because I've written it many times, and I keep pushing the delete button. I don't know why.
Right.
I want to get the movie that I'm going to make someday, or maybe not make. Me in my mind, I'll have. Is a movie entitled I Pushed Delete. You know, I was something like that, I couldn't push the lead, or I did push the lead or something. But that's the story of my life. It's always a delete button. There's always a delete button that you push. You got to start over all the time. And that's what it's about. It's about starting over. It's not about finishing. It's not necessarily finishing. There is no finish to life. It just goes on. And it starts over all the time. Regenerative and regrowth as human beings and as people, as societies and as cultures. We're always redefining ourselves. And hopefully we raise the level of redefinition.
Right.
Hopefully we raise to a higher plateau. I don't know what that higher plateau is, but I know I'm aiming at it.
Yeah. Well, we give the model within the hero's journey of the 12 steps in the circle, as you saw many times. And yes, the return with elixir is just like a clock, a return to one, right? It's the beginning of a new journey. Like you said, there's no finish to this. It's a circle on purpose. The same in, kind of martial arts story, the master always returns to the beginning, right? So that's the same idea. And by doing so, we're in a constant growth pattern, which allows us to see, like you said, the wisdom of a 7-month-old, the strength, which is, I think that's pretty amazing.
We're not hunting. We're not hunting for the solution. We're gathering the solution. We are gatherers. We're not hunters. I really believe that, especially by the way my teeth are made.
Yeah.
I'm learning that.
So there's a little more here. I just wanted to get into. It said here in the final workshop, we drew heroic selves, and when art was presented as a manifestation of myself as a hero, I thought and felt. You wrote, "You're darn tootin'. I do art therapy for my PD and my engagement with other people with Parkinson's, and it helps in so many ways." Tell me about art therapy and what that does for you.
It's phenomenal. I don't think that they realize how important it is. But I had no idea that I had left in me creativity, that color and shapes and forms, that I had anything left in me to talk about that. I've always been interested in art and art history and architecture. My brother's an architect and all. But I didn't think that there was juice left there. I thought it was all used up. There's a tremendous amount of creativity left in us. I mean, it doesn't matter the medium. It doesn't matter the medium. Spoken word, visual objects, the sounds, music, and noise that we make. Not noise, but good noise. It's all good.
So what does it take for someone to manifest that creativity? To go from a position of saying, I'm an empty well, to recognizing, no, there's actually a lot more here?
Well, it's taking the time. It's mindfulness again. Because you can't see what's in yourself unless you go outside of yourself.
Okay.
And that's the bottom line. If you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it.
How helpful are mentors in that regard to people?
That's anybody. The mentor could be a person on the street who just looks at you and says, like people in our class, who said, "Len, your language, your spoken word has improved since you've been in this class." And I said, thank you. I was grateful for that statement, because you don't get that often. Someone admiring you or encouraging you, telling you there's benefit to what you do, and benefit to others and benefit to yourself. I benefited him in that he could continue to hear me better, and I could speak so he could learn from me. And then I also was able to communicate better And I heard from him that he was glad that he could hear me. It made me feel good. You get positive feedback like that.
Right.
It's simple emotion, you know.
That's right. The connection, the creativity, those are things that, are missed if, like you said, the opportunities aren't put forward and the person is not willing to receive. I really appreciate that, Len. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we finish today? I appreciate everything you've had to say.
Well, the people that you've gotten involved in this, they've either gotten themselves involved or, as I have, I've sort of fallen into this. John was big in bringing me in, but I think I served as a mentor to John for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, he showed me a picture once of him jumping off of a rock. I don't know if he showed you this, but he had a picture of himself doing cliff diving or something. Yes, in South America or something. And I was like, this is crazy. But then I'm thinking, you know what? It's something I'd like to do. I've done it on a small scale. I've done it in the Adirondacks. I jumped from when I was young. I was a lifeguard. I went up there, and from Boy Scout camp, I went out to one of the lakes and did the cliff diving or whatever, but not like he did, not the real thing.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. That picture of John, with Parkinson's, jumping off of this thing, even if it was early onset, even if you didn't know he had Parkinson's, this guy sitting there next to me jumped off a cliff. I mean, a real live cliff.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
That reminds me of,
yeah,
it reminds me of one of my favorite Joseph Campbell quotes, the guy who does A Hero's Journey. The quote is jump.
Jump. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, Len. Well, thank you so much for your time. We'll be talking again soon. Okay.
Yeah. It's good to hear from you. I don't know when I'm going to be back in touch with you, but I'll tell you that people I've told about your course too. I've told about improv, how it impacts on you. People have noticed it. I think you got something there. We'll see. How's Dr. Barney, by the way?
Doing well. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We're still working on
Say hi to him from me.
I'll let him know you said hi.
I gave him a lot of shit when he was out here. I told him I wasn't going to get deep brain.
At Johns Hopkins when he was out, yeah.
I told him there's no way on earth I was going to get deep brain surgery, and he said you'd be perfect for it. You had guys with these German accents telling me that I should get deep brain surgery, and I'm like, what? It scared the shit out of me. I said to him, Dr. Mari, I'll do that when I'm dead or whatever. But yeah, I got deep brain. It was the best thing I did.
Yeah,
really was. Paid off. It took a while though. It took about 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's a common story with DBS. Hey, Len, I apologize. I have to jump. We'll talk again soon, though. You feel free to reach out anytime, okay?
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Len.
Well, okay? Regard to your family, your father.
You too, and to your grandson.